Good afternoon. Welcome to the March 21st, 2024 Teachers Retirement System Board meeting. I'll start by calling the roll. Brian Berge.
Representing Mayor Eric Adams, present.
Thomas Brown.
Here. Good afternoon, Patricia.
Good afternoon. Corinne Apollo. Present. Thank you. Allison Hirsch.
John Dorset, designee for Controller Brad Landa, representing control zones.
David Kazansky.
Present.
And Victoria Lee.
Present.
We do have a forum. And next on the agenda is an update on TRS operations. And we're going to be getting that from Ivo Green. Ivo Green. That was my last name. Ivo Grant Williams.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. So the first operational update is in regards to our required minimum distribution. TRS has identified over 35,000 members who must receive a R&D from their TDA accounts for this year, 2024. In late April, TRS will notify these members and open the R&D filing period. The next update is in regards to online educational programs. TRS's online educational programs continue to be extremely popular with members. Since the start of this year, we have hosted 35 different sessions with a total of 3,000 members registered and tuned in to learn more about their benefits. That ends the update.
Thank you, Ivo.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
So next on the agenda is an update from the actuary.
Thanks, Ray. So for my fiscal note update, I just want to start by correcting the public record for something I said at the last board meeting. We were discussing a fiscal note on changing the final average salary averaging period from 5 years to 3 years. And Trustee Dorsey asked me whether the look back period was 4 years or 2 years for teachers. And I incorrectly said it was 4 years. I remember there was a 4-year issue, but that applied to NICERS and BRRS. For TRS, the look back period in that fiscal note was 2 years, as it clearly said in the fiscal note. Right in front of me. And I thank the trustees for pointing this out to me after the meeting. I sent out an email correcting it, but I wanted to say it during the public session to correct the record as well. So now regarding the current status of the fiscal notes, I'm happy to report we're progressing at a record rate. So for comparison, last year, by this week, we had released 13 fiscal notes. As of today, we're up to 34 release. So more than double, close to tripling what we did the rate last year. In your board material, at the time of the submission of the agenda, we included 6 new ones impacting TRS. 4 of those improved Tier 6 benefits by reducing the member contributions in different ways. 1 increased the amount of military service a member could purchase from 3 years to 4 years. And the last one was actually the most difficult one. This one would allow BRRS UFT members, about 20% of BRRS active membership, to transfer to TRS. It turned out to be extremely tricky to value, more so than the other ones, because with TRS, the TRS benefits are very close, very similar to the BRRS members' benefits. But we did a run just by changing the members from BRRS to TRS with no change in benefits. And when we ran that, and this is in the fiscal note, the results increased the employer contribution rate by $20 million for the first year alone. Now, the reason for that is TRS assumptions are more, I'll use the word expensive than the BRRS assumptions. So for TRS members, we assume they get higher salary increases. We assume they live longer, both of those increase the employer contribution. But it's kind of creates an actuarial dilemma, because if you're a BRRS UFT member and you change the name of the retirement system from BRRS to TRS, you don't suddenly live longer and you don't suddenly get bigger salary increases. So then it becomes a dilemma on how do we value this fiscal note? And the question is, which set of assumptions are right? And the answer is they're both right on average. They're created from experience studies looking at the entire population. So carving out a subset of BRRS folks, moving them into TRS would require us down the road to come up with new assumptions. So if the BRRS folks being transferred really look like TRS members and really do get higher salaries and live longer, then the remaining BRRS folks on average would get even lower salary increases and even worse mortality experience. So then the BRRS contribution rate would go down to offset the increase in the TRS contribution rate. So when we did the fiscal note, we said, all right, let's ignore the gains and losses of just moving people with no benefit change. Let's assume there's no cost to move them to TRS for exactly the same benefits. And then we priced out the slight difference in ancillary TRS benefits, and that's what we published in the fiscal note. So that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions on the fiscal notes you may have.
So Mark, on that subject of assumptions that your office deploys, are there ever situations where you have like a sort of assumption subset for a group of members in a system that are sufficiently different than other members in the system?
Well, that was one of the solutions I was thinking we would have to do. Like if we determined that your BRRS folks coming over actually look like BRRS, then I would come to the board and say, I'm going to do an assumption change or recommend an assumption change and value this subset using BRRS assumptions. So yeah, we do this all the time. Different groups have different retirement patterns. So this would be kind of moving the BRRS assumptions over for a subset if those apply to this group.
Interesting. Thanks, Mark. More questions from Mark? Thank you.
Somebody downstairs. Wants to attend, but I don't know what we've probably done, but I may get up there. Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So next on the agenda is the executive director's report, and the first item on that is the matter of the next meeting, which is scheduled for the third Thursday of the month, April 18th, 2024. Just back to calendars. The next is a resolution to authorize to the controller of the city of New York to invest certain QPP funds. Please waive the reading. You waive the reading.
Thank you. I guess we're ready for a vote. Do we hear a motion to accept the authorization to the controller to invest certain QPP funds?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Great. All those in favor to authorize for the authorization to the controller to invest certain QPP funds, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Great, let the record show that it has been approved.
Thank you.
Passed.
We have a proposal.
Next on the agenda, on the ER, is the authorization to the controller of the city of New York to invest certain tax-deferred annuity funds.
Again, please waive the reading.
Great, do I hear a motion to accept the authorization to the controller to invest certain TDA funds?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved, it's been seconded. All those, any discussion? Great, all those in favor for the authorization to the controller to invest certain TDA funds, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions, and let the record show that this resolution has passed as well.
Thank you again.
Next is the resolution to adopt the actuary's determination for the preliminary fiscal year 2025 employer contribution to the New York City Teachers Retirement System.
Please skip to the resolved.
Resolve, the Board of Trustees hereby approves a preliminary fiscal year 2025 employer contribution to the City of New York Teachers Retirement System of $3,428,345,097.
Great. Do I hear a motion to accept the resolution for the preliminary fiscal year 2025 employer contribution? So moved. And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any comment?
Yeah, would you like me to go through the contribution at all? And
Yes.
Yeah.
there's, so in your board packets is my March 14th letter showing how the contribution was determined. And just to recap the process, each year prior to the start of the fiscal year, which is this July 1st, my office performs this preliminary calculation, which is shown on B1, page B1 of my letter. This is based on a snapshot of data as of last June rolled forward with interest to this July 1st. There's three main components for this contribution. The normal costs of 1.5 billion. That's the cost of the benefits for each additional year of service actives are expected to earn. For the 1 year of additional service actives are expected to earn. The second component is the amortization payments to pay off your unfunded liabilities for past service. This year's payment for that is 1.9 billion. The third component is the administrative expenses. This is a charge of 62 million reimbursement of interest and administrative expenses deducted from plan assets during the valuation year. Now, those are the three main components for TRS. There's three additional components in your total contribution. ASAF credit, 26.5 million. That's contributions the Department of Education is required to make into the annuity savings accumulation fund for certain members. There's another row for member contributions required to be made by the DOE for the Galeno settlement. And there's a third row. This is a small number, but it's similar to last year. It's a component for an overfunding credit for KIPP Academy Charter School. Because they're overfunded, they have a credit, and the credit's so big, normally it would pay off all their normal costs plus a portion of their administrative expenses. But the statute doesn't allow the overfunding credit to pay off administrative expenses. So we have to defer 23,000 of their assets into the future, charge them an extra 23,000 just to get them up to paying the total their share of the administrative expenses. The math on that is on page C8 if you're interested. But the total of all six is the fiscal year 25 contribution of 3.4 billion. And I'll just point out one other thing of interest. Page A9 shows the amortization payments going forward. And from the graph and the table, you can see that the unfunded is going to be paid off in approximately 8 years, fiscal year 2032. And that will cause a decrease in the employer contribution of about 2.5 billion once you factor in the credits in fiscal year 2033. So happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you, Mark, for that clarification. Any questions for Mark?
Mark, I'm
Brian?
pretty interested in the KIPP overfunding situation. Is that a product of a higher rate of turnover and few people enlisting? How did that come to be?
Each obligor is allocated their pro rata share, so just their pro rata share has turned that into a positive situation. I have to dig into what exactly caused their gains and losses to put them into an overfunded situation.
Sure, because I've seen I don't know, inverse or reverses, right? But I've seen other situations with charter schools not paying their obligations, so it's interesting to see.
Yeah, so this is the second year. Last year, they had a $46,000 credit or something like that. So they're slowly depleting that credit, but they have a slight credit there.
Great. Any more discussion? Thank you for that clarification, Mark. We're ready to take a vote. All those in favor of the preliminary fiscal year 2025 employer contribution, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The abstentions, let the record show that this resolution has passed.
Next on the agenda is the budget modification for organization of staff analysts, OSA, and managerial increases and mandated projects.
Please skip to the resolve.
Great. So do I have a motion, and just for the record, a motion to accept the budget modification?
I didn't read the resolve yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So resolved that the trustees of the Teachers Retirement Board hereby approve a modification of the fiscal year 2024 budget by increasing the agency's budget in the amount of $3,558,724 to fund pay increases required by the Organization of Staff Analysts Collective Bargaining Agreement and pay increases for non-collectively bargained staff, including the agency head, consistent with increase described in the Mayor's Personnel Order 2024/1 and 2024/2, and to fund the required projects mentioned above, and be it further resolved that the trustees hereby authorize the executive director or her designees to expend monies out of such budget in accordance with approved budget as modified and governing law.
Thank you, Patricia. And just for the record, do I hear a motion to accept the budget modification, managerial and organization of staff analysis increases and legislative and mandated projects for fiscal year 2024?
So moved.
And is there a second? All those in favor of this resolution, please say
Just
aye.
a quick point of discussion, if I may.
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chair. Of course, we're gonna support collectively bargaining. I mean, that's just not something to question. But how many total modifications have there been for this purpose since fiscal 24 was adopted? I feel like this is not the first. one.
No, like DC 37 raises,
Yeah,
what other, a few other unions.
we've
Well,
done a
what was the-
modification for each of them, like a separate budget
Yeah,
modification.
well, if they came around at the same
Yeah.
time, as they.
Yeah, we did for CWA, we did for the DC 37 before CWA, with Teamsters. So every time we get the, kind of the go ahead with the, with the increases, we go ahead and do a separate budget mod for it. So we'll wait until we get the instructions and then we issue the budget mod.
So is this the fourth one then? Did I?
It's about,
Do the count
well,
correct?
I'm sorry.
Check. I think it's the third one in this fiscal year, if I'm not mistaken, Brian, but I'll check for you.
Great,
I
thank you
think
very
they've all
much.
been consistent with.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, I'm
whatever
literally,
the
this is a housekeeping
substitutes.
thing. This is not a substitute.
All right, so you'll get back to Brian on how many we've done?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll
Thank you very
email Yeah.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you,
No
Brian.
problem.
Any more discussion? Now we're ready to take the vote. All those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Let the record show that this resolution has passed.
Thank you. Next is the calendar. And the first item on the calendar is the approval of the minutes from the February 1st, 2024 investment meeting minutes and the February 15th, 2024 board meeting minutes.
Thank you. So do you hear a motion for the record to accept February 1st, 2024 investment meeting minutes and the February 15th, 2024 board meeting minutes? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. And do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Victoria. Any discussion? Great. All those in favor of accepting the investment meeting minutes and the board meeting minutes for the dates on the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Let the record show that the investment
Abstention.
meeting minutes. I'm sorry?
I'm abstaining because I didn't read.
Oh, okay, okay, so let the record show that Corinne abstained. And but we do have approval.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next is the calendar items. You all received an electronic version of the calendar.
Please waive the reading of the calendar.
Great, do I have a motion to accept the calendar?
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Any discussions about the calendar? And all those in favor of accepting the calendar items, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Yeah, oh.
Thanks, I accept,
Okay,
yes.
no abstentions. Great, so let the record show that calendar items have been accepted. Thank you.
So next is any questions or comments from the public? Well, welcome. Thank you. Okay, so, that's it, no questions.
It's
or
our
comments.
business for the public session. Great. Is there a motion to go into executive session? So moved. And do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of going into executive session, please say aye. 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 Those opposed, say nay. The abstentions, we are now in executive session. We are back into public session. Swingle.
Thank you. In executive session of the March 2024 board meeting, we received a security presentation.
Thank you, Ron. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? So move. And is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.